Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a small 4-game slate for the NBA, though we do have a lot of injuries today, so do keep that in mind. With that said, guys, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Really helps the channel. For my 4 games today, I have Chicago over Utah, the Pelicans over Dallas, Golden State over Orlando, and Sacramento over the Lakers. With that said, let's get into the injury report here. For the Jazz, Sexton is out. For the Bulls, Caruso is questionable. For the Pelicans, Ingram is doubtful and Zion is out. For the Mavs, DFS is out, Kleber is out, and Luka is probable. For the Magic, Bol is out, Okiki's out, and Hampton is out. For the Warriors, Wiggins is probable, Curry is out, Kuminga is out, Jam Green is out, and Wiseman is out. For the Lakers, Brown is questionable, Davis is out, Walker is out, and Reeves is out. And for the Kings, Monk is questionable. So we have a decent amount of injuries here, but I do think it's a pretty good slate in general. I think pricing is pretty good today. A lot of guys seem like their prices have come down some, so that definitely helps us on a slate like this. So let's go ahead and get into the players I do like today. So I'm going to start with Jose Alvarado. He's played really well when Ingram and Zion are out, and he's gotten some minutes as a result, and so keep an eye on him, but he has some upside in this particular matchup here against Dallas, especially if those guys are in fact out. Then I do really like De'Aaron Fox today against the Lakers. He has some nice upside. He's been playing pretty well, and his price has come down actually a little bit because he's had a couple off games, but overall he's been playing well lately, and he's going to get a full complement of minutes here, and this could be a higher scoring game on the slate. Then we'll look at CJ McCollum for the Pelicans. He typically has big games whenever Zion and Ingram are both out, and as you can see, the last 2 games he scored over 40 fantasy points. His price did pop up a tiny bit from that, but overall his price is actually down from a few games ago, and even though it is up on the season overall, he's in a great spot here, and he's got nice upside in this matchup. And then Russell Westbrook, depending on how the guard situation is there, he should get a full complement of minutes today. He's been playing quite a few minutes lately, and he's had some really big games as a result. His price is just too cheap for his potential here, especially on a smaller game slate. I do like the pairing of Westbrook and Fox at guards today as well. So then we'll look at forwards, and I'm going to take a look at Pat Williams here first for Chicago. He's actually had some nice upside the last few games. He does play a full complement of minutes in most games, and his price point hasn't really ever come up that much. It's actually down from its peak, and so I expect him to have some good upside in this matchup, especially in a higher scoring slate. Both this Chicago-Utah game and the Lakers and Kings game both have some high upside game lines. Then we're going to look at Najee Marshall for the Pelicans. Now, I do tend to like the Pelicans forwards whenever Zion and Ingram is out, but he's really the only one that's been playing really well lately, and he's had some really big games with both those guys out in extended minutes. I expect that to continue here. Even though it is a tougher matchup, I do think he's in a viable, good spot here. And then Zach LaVine for Chicago also looks pretty good here. He had an absolutely massive game yesterday where he had 11 threes. I don't expect him to repeat that, but his price point is the same, and he has good upside. He's been playing pretty well. He has some off games lately, but overall he's a good player, and the Bulls are in a great spot here to have a big game. I'm also going to mention DeMar DeRozan for Chicago. I really do like Chicago in this game, and the way they've been playing as a team. Now, DeRozan's price is a little bit higher, and he hasn't been hitting it, but he has upside just the same. But he is just somebody to take a look at today in this small slate. And then at center, we're going to look at Nikola Vucevic here for Chicago first. He has absolutely been on a tear the last 4 or 5 games, and his price hasn't really come up to reflect that. I expect him to continue this. I mean, he's been rebounding the ball extremely well. He actually had a triple-double yesterday, which just made him crazy good yesterday. But I expect him to have another good game here against Utah, and it's a nice high-scoring game for him, and he should be good to go here. A good alternative to him, though, is Thomas Bryant, who's been playing extremely well for the Lakers lately. But since Davis is out, he's only had 1 game under 39 fantasy points, or 34 fantasy points, rather, sorry. And so his price point here is still just too cheap. I don't love his price point, but he's been really good since Davis has been out, and he's had a few off games, but overall, on a small slate and a high-scoring affair like he had yesterday and he'll have today, I think he's a great option, especially from a rebounding and points potential. So he's great here. And then let's go and get over on FanDuel and see what we have over here. So for point guards, we're going to start with De'Aaron Fox. He has been playing extremely well for the Kings. He's had some good upside in the last few games, though he's had a couple off games as well. But overall, he's got a good price, and he has been playing well, and he's got a nice plus matchup here. I'm also going to take a look at C.J. McCollum, who has good upside whenever Zion, Zion and Ingram are out. So I expect him to have a full complement of minutes and have a lot of scoring in this game against Dallas. And then also Russell Westbrook. He has his price isn't quite as ideal here as it is on DraftKings, but he's been playing well with Davis out, especially with the guards out for the Lakers. He's going to be forced into more minutes, basically, and so I expect him to have another big game. Then we're going to look at the shooting guards, and we're going to look at DeMar DeRozan. He hasn't had as many big games, but his price is actually a little bit cheaper here on FanDuel than DraftKings, and his upside is extremely high. When he does get going in some games, he tends to have massive scoring fantasy games, and so I look for him to have a potential one here, especially since he didn't have a big game yesterday. But Zach LaVine, obviously a great option today. His price is still too cheap for what he can do. Obviously, he has a lower floor than some guys, but he has a high ceiling as well. Then we'll look at Najee Marshall for New Orleans. He's really the only guy on New Orleans who's been playing really good with Zion and Ingram out from the forward position, and so I look for him to continue that here. He should get a full complement of minutes with Ingram out, and I expect him to play well in this matchup. Then we'll look at Draymond Green here for Golden State. I like what he's been doing the last few games with Curry out. He's been getting more fantasy points simply because he's passing the ball a lot. Now, his price point isn't super ideal, but his upside is, and he definitely has nice upside in this matchup. Then we'll look at Sabonis for the Kings. Now, his price isn't super ideal, but he does get some bonuses here simply because he's been getting close to triple-doubles in a lot of these games. He's been playing really well the last week or so, and I expect him to continue that in this matchup here in a fast-paced game against the Lakers, who don't have Anthony Davis. And then for centers, we're going to look at Thomas Bryant first for the Lakers. He has been really consistent lately. He's had a lot of good games, and he hasn't had, and his price point is still too cheap for what he can do here. Now, he does have a little bit of risk involved because he sometimes doesn't get as many minutes, especially in tough matchups. But overall, I think he's in a good spot here, and I think he's got a good upside. But it should be a high-scoring game. Then Nikola Vucevic also just been playing really well lately. His price point isn't as ideal here on FanDuel as is on DraftKings, but he's still somebody to consider and an alternate to Thomas Bryant if you want to go away from him. With that said, guys, we have a small slate, obviously, so it's, tread light a little bit today because there's not a whole lot of value plays, but overall, I think you can build some probably pretty quality lineups today, especially on DraftKings. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.